Welcome to Gone in 5. This is DrJason, and today's Gone in 5 minutes is how to get rid of plantar fasciitis. Now, if you've ever had plantar fasciitis, it is so painful. In fact, it stops many people from doing what they love. It stops people from running. It even prevents people from walking. Many people report getting up in the morning and they put their feet down and it hurts so bad that they want to scream. It's like a sharp pain in the bottom of their foot. I've had this before. It's terrible. It'll certainly mess up your workout schedule, and it can even hurt just walking down the hall. And so what happens is people get a lot of remedies. They come up with a lot of remedies like boots and socks that you wear at night, and none of them really work. I hate to say it, but they just don't. And so if you understand what plantar fasciitis is, we're going to tell you a couple of ways how to deal with it. Now, number one, the plantar fascia is along the bottom of the foot, and so when you look at the foot here, what you've got is the arch right here, and the plantar fascia attaches from the heel, the calcaneus, across here to the first metatarsal, and then across through the metatarsal heads, and it's a connective tissue that holds up the arch of the foot. Now, what happens with plantar fasciitis is when the arch drops, the fascia stretches. And so again, this arch, if the arch drops, the fascia stretches, and what it does, if you imagine just my tie just being pulled like that, it gets really tight and can be really painful. And so there's a couple of simple remedies I'm going to give you to deal with it. And number one is working with a lacrosse ball. Now, if you've ever seen one of these, you can get these at your local sporting goods store. They're really simple and they bounce, right? So they're fairly hard, but they're made out of rubber. And what you want to do is go near a wall, find the lacrosse ball, and you want to step on it. And what this is going to do, you just basically want to roll out the bottom of your foot. And this does hurt a little bit, so I'm fairly active. I work out a couple times a day. I use my body a lot. I'm always on my feet. And as you can see, it's not terribly complicated, but I'm rolling the length of the fascia. You can roll back and forth this way. You can put a little more weight on it. And what I'm doing is I'm stretching the plantar fascia. Now, this may help some people if it's really early on, but when something's inflamed and you start stretching it, truthfully, it's just gonna hurt more. So it does feel good, it does stretch it out, but why is the plantar fascia inflamed? It's inflamed because the arch has dropped. So this is a simple remedy that works if it's really early on, and it's really more preventative than it is curative. Now, the next thing you can do is a calf stretch. You're gonna put your hands on a wall, you're gonna put your feet facing towards the wall, you're going to bend your front leg, straighten your back leg, and push into the wall, leaning, locking out your back knee. And what I'm doing is I'm stretching my calf right through here. Okay, so I'm stretching my calf. Of course, I can do that on the other side. Now, the calf muscle attaches into the heel, the calcaneus. And the calcaneus is where the plantar fascia attaches. So by stretching the calf muscle, the idea is to loosen the tension on the plantar fascia, which can and does help. Again, this is for early on. Even if you have it, this will definitely help you. But if that doesn't take away your plantar fasciitis in just 5 minutes, it might be a bit more severe. You might want to look into chiropractic care, and I'll explain why. What oftentimes happens is we've got a couple of muscles in the leg, and what can happen is this. We can get a sprain of some of the muscles. There's a muscle that runs down the back of the shin called the posterior tibialis. This muscle goes behind the ankle here, attaches into the navicular bone, and that navicular bone is the keystone. It really holds up the arch. So if this muscle is strained, if it's torn, either up top or down below at the navicular, if it's a micro tear, then what happens is that arch can drop. So what we may need to do is correct the muscle firing of the posterior tibialis, and then of course the anterior tibialis, the peroneals sometimes go with it. Now, in addition to that, what many people forget is, or maybe they don't even know, is that that muscle and those 3 muscles I just mentioned are supplied by nerves that come out of the lower back. So we also want to check the lumbar spine for alignment. If you look over here, the nerves that come out of the lower lumbar go down into the lower legs, the ankles, the feet, the arches, the toes. So checking the proper alignment of that area is critical to properly healing plantar fasciitis. And lastly, many times when the arch drops, it's because the foot internally rotates, and the foot internally rotates because the femur does, and the femur does because the lower back is out of alignment. So many times plantar fasciitis is actually a compensation and adaptation, a poor adaptation, to a lumbar subluxation. So the correct way to do it is to try the lacrosse ball, see if it helps, stretch your calves against a wall, see if that helps. If it does, wonderful. Still wise to get checked by a chiropractor. If it doesn't, you know the problem's more severe. Definitely want to get checked by a chiro that, number one, is really good at adjusting the lower back, and number two, knows how to balance the muscles of the lower extremity in the case of an injury. I'm Dr. Jason. Thank you for watching Gone in 5 Plantar Fasciitis.